Okay, looks like we can go ahead and get started. I just want to say hello and welcome to the second of 4 showcases that we'll be presenting. My name's Ginger Buchanan. I'm the Food Service Director for Huntley Project Schools in Warden, Montana. I'm also one of 2 farm to school coaches for Montana Team Nutrition, the other one being Faith Oakland from the northeastern part of Montana. The purpose of this showcase is to give you all a snapshot of some of the local producers in the state, to inspire you to do more scratch cooking and get you excited to search out some producers that are in your areas. I also want to encourage you to check into grants and get excited about that too. There are lots available right now, and we need to be taking advantage of that. I have recently been blessed with roughly $83,000 in grant money here at Huntley Project School for the kitchen, and I'm applying for more as we go. We're upgrading in our kitchen and have plans to make it better, especially with COVID and the obstacles that it has created for our school kitchen. This showcase is jam-packed, full of information, wonderful presenters, and each presenter will take questions after their video. This event has been supported in part by the Food and Nutrition Service, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and Montana Farm Bureau Foundation's Promotion and Education Committee. USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender. These are all the presenters. It'll be me, Tiff and Stacy Ogren from the Ogren Ranch, Shane Flowers from Project Meats, Celeste and Jake Miller from Miller Ranch Beef, Pam Frew from Montana Office of Public Instruction, Barry Hansen and Lynn Ducharme from Native Fish Keepers, and of course Aubrey. She's a Montana Farm to School Coordinator.
Let's dive into some farm to school information. So farm to school is an umbrella term or a movement to connect children to their food to improve their health, support farmers, ranchers, and food businesses, and strengthen communities through the 3 core elements that are shown here: procurement, education, and school gardens. Farm to school programs generally work best, as you can imagine, when each of the 3 core elements is represented. There are many ways to implement farm to school, and farm to school is not a program you sign up to do. You really implement it in your community and school with the resources that you have. So let's take a look at each of these 3 core elements. First, procurement, and this includes buying and serving local foods in school meals. Schools are sourcing local foods from all 5 food groups, from apples to beef and beyond. This includes food purchased from local farmers, ranchers, and processors, as well as food that's been grown and raised at schools. Growing and raising food with students is a great way to engage them in the process and get them excited about unfamiliar foods. School gardens and farms vary in size, type, and purpose. They can be educational, they can be in-ground gardens, raised beds, greenhouses, or indoor gardens. And they could even be as unconventional as Bob the Greenhouse Bus, which is a program from Gallatin Valley Farm to School that provides mobile greenhouse education. And it's definitely the broadest of the core elements. The education piece spans food, nutrition, and agriculture-based education. Farm to school education can take place anywhere. Here, Gallatin Valley Farm to School, which is a nonprofit in Bozeman, provides in-classroom lessons at Bozeman Elementary School. Getting kids engaged in cooking is another important piece of farm to school. And farm to school is here in Montana, and it's growing. In 2018-19 school year, 54.8% of schools were implementing farm to school in some capacity, and that has now grown to 57.1%. And of course, there are many benefits to farm to school programs, as you'll see through this showcase. And while I'm not going to go over all of these here, I encourage you to check out the National Farm to School Network's benefits fact sheet, which I have linked at the bottom of the slide. The Montana Farm to School leadership team works through partnerships across the state to build farm to school initiatives. We welcome participation in our 5 working groups, which are listed here. So contact me if you're interested in getting more involved. I know that's a very quick overview of what Farm to School is, but don't worry, we'll talk more about resources at the end, and you'll get more sense of Farm to School throughout the presentations. So now that you have a foundation, we want to give you the opportunity to connect with each other. So we're going to break into those breakout groups, just like I mentioned. So once you're in your groups, introduce yourself with, of course, your name, your title or affiliation, your organization, business, school, your town, favorite local food, and what interests you about today's events. We have about 5 minutes for this. So I'm going to break you into smaller groups. So just give me a second while I get that set up here.
Okay, one thing I want to touch base on is this event is hosted by Montana Team Nutrition program at Montana State University. Montana Team Nutrition works in close collaboration with Montana Office of Public Instruction to provide training and guidance to Montana schools on nutrition education, school wellness, and school nutrition programs. Montana Office of Public Instruction school nutrition programs, Montana Food Corps, and partners. This event is funded in part by a USDA Farm to School grant, Montana Farm Bureau Foundation's Promotion and Education Committee. So now I want to go ahead and jump right into this and introduce our first video, and it's from the Ogren Ranch, owners Tiffany and Stacy Ogren of Hysham, Montana.
And I'm Riley Ogren. My brother and I are the fourth generation on our family ranch. We are located in eastern Montana on the banks of the Yellowstone River. Here on the ranch, we run a cow calf and yearling operation where we rotationally graze native grass as well as cover crops. We run a haying operation. We direct market ranch-to-table beef to the public, and we train, compete on, and sell performance horses.
We're really passionate about sustainability here. We really believe that in order for us to be successful, the land, the grass, the animals, the air, and the water all have to be thriving in order for us to be successful. We're really passionate about having small, family-run farms and ranches successful, and that's critical to the health of our communities and our rural way of lifestyle.
Riley, what's your favorite subject?
Well, I have multiple. My favorite subjects are music, reading, and lunch.
Oh, yeah, for sure, lunch. You've heard it said, our food is fuel, and we are what we eat, and it's so true.
That's why lunch at school is such a great opportunity for kids to refuel their bodies and interact with peers. It kind of incorporates the saying that we're mind, body, and spirit, and it allows these kids to prepare themselves for the last half of the day, to get ready for sports practices and all the other activities that school provides.
When I was a freshman in college living at the dorms, I happened to be walking by the cafeteria one day, and they had just gotten an order of food in, and on one of the boxes it said, beef, class D, fit for human consumption, at which point I went directly to the salad bar and the yogurt stand, choosing not to partake in a meal where they had to clarify whether or not the meat was suitable to be consumed by human beings. And that is one of the big reasons that we're excited about this Farm to School program, so that these kids can enjoy meals where there isn't the need to clarify whether their meat is fit for human consumption.
There are a number of reasons why we are so excited about the Farm to School program. First of all, it gives us the opportunity to provide high-quality beef to students and faculty that is tasty and nutritious. Secondly, as parents, we take great comfort in knowing that the beef that our kids are consuming at school, we know where it's coming from and we know where it's being processed.
Third, as suppliers of beef to farm-to-table folks in our area, one of the big things that resonates with them is them knowing where their meat comes from, the process that it gets to their home, and the people and the faces that are behind the product. We recognize that our kids are our future. We know that our next generation of doctors and business owners and teachers, first responders are all sitting at your cafeteria table right now, and we want to be a part of helping them thrive. Sometimes there's kids that the only meal that they get is at lunch through the school lunch program, and we want to help make that meal count. Part of our jobs as ranchers is to feed the world. We're excited to have the opportunity to provide a high quality product to these kids that are going to go on to change our communities, our state, our country, and the world. We're excited to see what happens.
Lastly, it is fulfilling to know that we have a hand in providing the most high quality protein source for the students in the great state of Montana.
All right, that was awesome. Does anybody have any questions for the Ogren Ranch, Tiff and Stacy? Remember, you can post your questions in the chat box.
Stacy and Tiff, have you had any resistance from schools who opt for less expensive meat sources? And are you selling to some Montana schools now?
Yeah, so we are pretty new to providing beef to schools. Actually, Ginger had approached us about being a part of this, and she actually bought a beef from us, and we did donate a beef to our local school in Hysham. You know, with the limited amount of experience that we've had with it, I can't say that we've had a price issues or resistance just because of the limited experience we've had. You know, all the schools are under budget restraints, and so I'm sure there probably is a different budget for different schools, and like we get that, like you kind of have to make it pencil as well. So,
you know, one thing I want to say, it is hard for us to compete with, you know, some of the suppliers in cost. But I do also have to say that, you know, on average, statistics show that there's anywhere from 100 different cows to like 1,000 different cows in one particular burger that you get, you know, from the grocery store, let's say, or these suppliers. So when you do buy beef from us, you know, you are getting the primals and everything ground into that patty or into that pound of meat or whatever. And you know where it's coming from. You know, it's been locally processed. There's just lots of nutritive benefits, as well as just food security benefits to it. I want to take this opportunity to say too, if you would like to get to know us better, we do have a Facebook business page. It's just Ogren Ranch, and we do some giveaways and different things on there, and kind of we're a little bit sporadic about posting, but yeah, kind of see more about our operation and what we're all about and our location, and yeah, just day-to-day kind of ins and outs of the business.
You mentioned that you had donated to Hysham schools, correct? And so there's a question that says, I have local ranchers donate beef. Is that tax deductible for them? So was that tax deductible for you?
You know, I'm sure it could be. We didn't worry about that for ourselves personally. I guess probably an accountant would probably be better suited to answer that than I would. But I mean, I'm sure there's a paper trail that follows everything, you know, from when it leaves our place till when it gets to the school. So I'm sure that would be that would fall under that category. But I probably shouldn't make any accountant guarantees. So.
And it looks like a follow-up to that is from Kathy Campbell, and she says, our meat and processing are totally donated, and it just jumped on me. And we do a tax ID number to all donors so that accountants can decide if it's deductible. Awesome. It looks like we have a comment from Anna, and anyone is welcome to unmute yourselves or continue using the chat box if you prefer for us to read them. Anna from Gardner School District says to help cover the increase in cost for their local beef, we use our garden. By that, I mean we are able to grow vegetables that we would usually buy. And with that saved money, we put it towards local beef. So that's an excellent strategy.
Yeah, I get that. Go ahead.
I was going to ask Ginger too, what made her reach out to you guys to start?
Well, what made me reach out was I'm friends with them on Facebook, and I noticed that they were advertising their beef. And so I thought they would probably be a very good source for our showcase if they were interested in providing beef to schools. So I reached out to Tiff, and here we are.
I might make one quick comment. We ride horses and give lessons and that kind of thing. Do some competition and that kind of thing, and are used to teaching in that avenue. And we're definitely open and feel like it's really important that kids know, the background of where their food comes from and tie it back to the agricultural industry for some of these kids that, I think our society and our culture is moving away from being connected to the land, and we're definitely, if anyone would like help with educating their children, we would definitely be open to that and think it's very important. We're really big on ecological sustainability and soil health and clean water and clean air and all that kind of all ties together, and just to promote ag in kind of a organic manner, I guess, and in a manner that is healthier just for everybody.
I appreciate that, Tiff. Remember, you can post any questions or anything for Tiff and Stacy in the chat box. Now I think we're going to move on to the Miller Ranch. They're our second presenter. Owners Jake and Celeste Miller of Absaroka, Montana.
Miller Ranch Beef's excited to try to get into the school systems. One, because it's been a passion of mine and my wife's for a long time, like I said, to provide high quality, nutritious beef to the local community at a good price.
The best part about Miller Ranch beef is it being locally sourced and you knowing exactly where your food is coming from and what you're putting into your body.
You can buy that burger for $2 at Walmart, but you're going to have soy protein ground into it. They're going to grind ice into it. And then
knowing where your food is coming from and actually being able to see the cows.
We don't mess with the beef. We don't do anything to it.
For the first year of their life, they're on grass.
We do have grass-fed cattle.
They are put on roughage and grain to gain some weight and put some more nutrition into the animal.
But when you're buying our beef, you know we're feeding the animal superior quality feed.
And then after that, they are taken to the processing plant.
If they're handled low stress all the way to the packing plant, there's not going to be any lactic acid buildup in the muscles, and the meat's going to taste superior.
What is included in Miller Ranch beef is beef and nothing else. We have lined out basically a plan where, the food is grown in Absaroka, then we're getting it processed in Cody, and that's a guarantee process. And then we get it, storing it in Absaroka, where we're hands-on with that delivery.
We will be delivering our product with a Ford T300 van with a freezer on the back, custom built for us.
We will be storing it at our home in a
10 by 15 walk-in freezer on the property, so easy access
to that beef whenever we need. And then the freezer van, we will take that, load it with whatever the school needs.
If the school needs 10-pound chubs of burger, we'll make 10-pound chubs of burger. If they want 1-pound patties made, we'll make 1-pound patties or half-pound patties, quarter-pound patties. Basically, whatever the school system needs, it can be custom tailored
and bring it into the schools.
The quality and the nutrition of the beef that's going to be delivered to those schools is going to be superior to anybody else's beef. We'll talk directly to either myself or my wife, Celeste. We are the owners of Miller Ranch Beef.
We have our cell phones on us 24/7.
365.
We're available through text, through phone calls.
So if we have to deliver beef on a Sunday or have to deliver beef any time of the night, day, we will make it happen. Our ranch is committed and dedicated to making sure we're delivering the highest quality protein and making sure when we sign a contract or when we say we're going to deliver, we will deliver that beef to you guys. Our ranch runs 1,000 cattle. We will be able to do 1,200 pounds of burger a week. What makes us cost competitive is cutting out the middleman, or I should say the 5 middlemen that are in between the cow leaving my ranch and the meat getting on your plate. The reason I wanted to do this was because there was no beef here. Who knows where your beef comes from? You could go down to the IGA in Absaroka and they say it's certified Hereford beef, but where in the heck, where's it from? Whose ranch was it raised on? What was it fed? If you're buying Miller Ranch beef, you're gonna know it was raised on this hill. It was fed locally raised grain and locally raised corn and locally raised hay. Every step of the way, you know exactly where that animal was, what it was fed, how it was treated, and it comes back and it gets on your plate, and I think that the quality of the product will show. My big thing too is it keeps the local dollars in the local community. Every dollar that gets spent is helping our ranch, is helping the feedlots, is helping the local packing plants, is helping local agriculture, is helping local restaurants. So it just keeps the Montana economy going and strong. What makes Miller Ranch beef reliable is the ranch has the critical mass of cattle that we need to keep constantly supplying beef. We've partnered with great feedlots. We have partnered with really great packing plant, and we're committed to delivering a superior quality product at a fair price. Miller Ranch beef, as long as I'm alive, we will be the fairest priced, high quality product out there.
All right, what a great video. Does anybody have any questions for Jake and Celeste of Miller Ranch Beef? You can post your questions in the chat box as well.
Looks like we have one question in the chat box for the Millers. How far is your distribution area?
The whole point of this was to service the local community, but with our freezer truck, I guess our plan at the moment is to service basically within about a 100-mile radius of Absaroka, Montana, which would basically include, I mean, we could go to Bozeman if we needed to, but Billings, Livingston, all the way around kind of that general area, and then south into Wyoming if need be.
I've got a question. I don't have a lot of knowledge in this area, but in your video you said eliminating the 5 middlemen. Could you briefly explain what that means to somebody that doesn't have?
Absolutely. So, and it's kind of funny because my dad actually made a living doing this for pretty much his entire life. But basically when the cow-calf operations like mine, what happens is we have however big they are, we'll have a group of steer calves to sell in the fall. And so then what we'll do is we'll arrange to have a buyer for those steer calves, but they usually weigh about 600 to 650 pounds, and they'll leave our ranch. I traced my calves where they went last year. And what happened was they got on a truck and they got driven to wheat fields in Oklahoma. Now that guy, he ran them on wheat fields in Oklahoma after they'd already been combined, and was going to try to put some cheap gain on those cattle. And then he'll turn around and he'll sell them to a feedlot. So he went from my ranch in Absaroka, Montana. They got trucked to Oklahoma. Then they got sold out of Oklahoma and trucked to a feedlot in Greeley, Colorado. And then from Greeley, Colorado, they got probably sold from I kind of lost trace of them after that, but usually how it goes is it went from a feedlot in Greeley, Colorado to a packing plant, probably somewhere pretty close to Greeley. And then from the packing plant, it probably went to a distributor. And then finally from the distributor, it either came back, some of it could have very well came back to Montana, for all we know. But that's kind of the flow of modern agriculture right now, as far as how our steer calves go. So kind of disappointing, I guess, that they had to get trucked all the way to Oklahoma to potentially come back to Montana.
Thank you.
You bet.
I see another question here. So what about lead times? How far ahead would a school need to order?
So we're doing 20 a month at the moment. It just really depends on if the school is doing anything special. We already have 10-pound bags of burger ready to go right now. But if it's something to where they need to get a bunch of hamburger patties made, I would say probably a month to 2 weeks in advance, because we have cattle going in every 2 weeks. So if it's 2 weeks in advance, we can get burger patties made or whatever. And once we get a system figured out as to what the school needs, we'll just have it allotted out of a certain amount of cattle that we're doing. With 20 a month, I'm figuring we're going to be having to sell 1,200 pounds of burger a week. So we could definitely custom tailor whatever needs to be made. If they need, like I said, anything from 1/4 pound patties all the way up to 10-pound bags of burger.
And there's the question from Molly. Do you provide pre-pattied burger in addition to the chubs?
Absolutely. Whatever the school or consumer wants, we can get made in pretty much whatever quantities too. Now, it does cost a little more to make patties versus making 10-pound bags. So those patties do cost a little more, but other than that, it's pretty much cut and dried as far as we can make anything that the schools need.
There's another question here, which is, what is your phone number? So if you want to connect with Tura, you can put that in the chat box if you'd like.
We'll put our phone numbers in the chat box there.
Great.
Okay, if there's no more questions, we can move on. I would like to introduce our third presenter, Native Fish Keepers, with biologist Barry Hansen and manager Lynn Ducharme of Polson, Montana.
I'm Barry Hansen, fisheries biologist for the Salish and Kootenai tribes, and we're at Flathead Lake. We're going to describe the process we have here to restore native fish. And the problem we're dealing with is that lake trout, introduced over 100 years ago, then combined with mysis shrimp, introduced about 50 years ago, together resulted in a excessive abundance of lake trout. It's a top predator and severely preyed upon native cutthroat and bull trout. With the decline in those fish, we saw the need to address the problem, bring about a recovery of those native fish, and to do that, we have to reduce lake trout abundance. We do that by two methods. One is using the public in angling contests, for example, Mac Days fishing contests, and the other is through gill netting. And what we'll see today is our gill netting effort. Behind me is our gill netting boat, a 38-foot boat designed specifically for this work. We're here on a September day after having fished throughout the summer, and the surface water of Flathead Lake is still fairly warm in the 60s, but we're fishing at the bottom of the lake where it's closer to 39 degrees, and we're today fishing a small mesh net which catches the smaller lake trout, and they're coming up out of 39-degree water, and we put them directly on ice and then take them into the fish processing facility. We have a goal to harvest 143,000 per year, which our research indicates will bring about a nearly complete recovery of the native fish. That's our overall challenge. Something that is, I think, very supportive and exciting about this particular fishery is that these fish we're harvesting are causing a problem. Therefore, removing them is beneficial to the ecology of the lake, but it also is important to consumers that eat these fish because in comparison to other fisheries, especially the ocean fisheries, where there's so much demand for healthy fish, that there's enormous pressure and exploitation, and typically then those fisheries are driven down and down. In this case, we're striving to drive this particular fishery down to benefit the native fish, and therefore, from a consumer perspective, consuming these fish can be done without contributing to ecological problems, but in fact supporting the ecology, and can be done then with a clear conscience and with the best ethics.
Hello, my name is Cindy Benson. I am the fisheries specialist for the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. This is our fillet machine that we use to process the lake trout that we bring in out of Flathead Lake. The process is that you start on the far end, heads are taken off of the fish, they're fed into the machine, and 2 fillets will come out this end. There's a belly blade that will cut the belly open. There's a blade that will bring the guts out. They'll fall into the tray and come out into this bin. And we have the 2 processed fillets right there. There you can see how they come out of the machine. It takes the rib blades off, rib bones off. Sometimes we do have to cut a few rib bones off, and then we also pin bone by hand, and at the end we have a boneless fish fillet, lake trout from Flathead Lake. This process and the machine is all done under Native Fish Keepers Incorporated, which is a corporation formed under the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribal Council, and it is ran as a nonprofit organization. Barry's going to show how we trim up the fillets, take the pin bones off, and get them ready to be packaged for market. He's trimming the belly off of the fish. We square up the tail, and then we carefully take the pin bones out. On the smaller fish, I don't take the pin bones out, but on these larger ones, you want to take pin bones out. Then let's weigh this fillet and see what that fillet weighs. That fillet comes in at 4.7. The flesh of these fish has changed over the years. It used to be white, but since they've been eating the mysis shrimp, they accumulate that pigment and it transfers into their flesh, and so they look more like a salmon. Makes them more appetizing.
These are completed lake trout fillets. They have the orange color largely from their diet of mysis shrimp. They have been trimmed all around and pin bones removed, so it's a boneless fillet. These average about 4.5 ounces. They're from the low end of the size structure of lake trout. They are in the, say, 14 to 18-inch fish. And generally, restaurants and other markets are looking for larger fillets in the 8-ounce or greater. So these are about half the size of the more commonly marketed fillets. These then should be ideal for a school program, and important to mention, to be aware, mercury is everywhere in the environment, and it's taken up through the aquatic food web. Lake trout, of course, then also take it up. All fish have mercury, and lake trout, especially the larger ones, have quite a lot of mercury. The value of these smaller fish is that they're on a mysis diet. They're young, so they haven't accumulated that much mercury. It's important for all consumers to be aware of the fish they consume and the frequency that they consume them. But these are a relatively safe product that brings all the healthy aspects of fish, the omega-3s, the valuable fatty acids that are so important for heart and other development. In addition to the important conservation value that comes from harvesting these fish and people consuming them to help sustain the program of harvest, we also think it's important to know that these are as fresh a fish as you can get. Every day we're pulling our nets, the fish go directly on ice on the boat, and then they're shuttled from the boat to this facility, and they're filleted, then trimmed as you see here. Then they go to the vacuum packer and then into the flash freezer where they're held at -10. So from the water to the freezer is typically less than 4 hours.
Another great video. So does anybody have any questions for Barry and Lynn from Native Fish Keepers? We're going to start serving these fish here at Huntley Project, and I'm real excited about it. I believe what we're going to do is we're just going to put them on sheet pans, stick them in the oven with some seasoning, and very quickly they'll be ready, and they'll be very easy to serve. I love serving local fish.
We have a bunch of questions just kind of back to back here. They all came in at the same time. So do you deliver or ship? And another question that's related to that is your product shipped frozen?
I'm going to have Lynn answer that question.
Okay, we work with 3 distributors that are all out of Montana. They distribute throughout the state as well as Wyoming and a little bit into Idaho. So we don't specifically deliver ourselves. We're not set up for that, but we do work with distributors that have a pretty broad route. As far as, yes, right now, all of our fish is delivered frozen. We do have some folks right here in Polson that take some of our fish fresh, but that's on a pretty limited basis.
There's a follow-up question to that, which is, who are those distributors that you're working with now?
Okay, we work with Quality Foods Distributing out of Bozeman. We work with Flathead Fish out of Columbia Falls, and we work with Ocean Beauty out of Helena.
Okay, I think that kind of answers the question. Katie asked, which is, how do we get the fish if we don't live in the area? Molly asks, do you have any easy fish recipes which schools could use to prepare the fillets?
I'll take a shot at that because we have on our website both the macdays.com website and the Native Fish Keepers website. There are recipes, but as to the specifics of how a school would prepare them, I'm not really prepared to answer that. Yeah, those are details I'm not familiar with.
Okay, and it looks like there's also the Alaska Farm to School Toolkit has some school recipes for fish. So if any of you are looking for fish recipes, you can check that out. Just as a note, we will gather these resources, the ones that are included in the chat box or other resources, and include those in a follow-up email. Okay, I'm just going through these questions here. What experiences have you had with selling to younger kids who may not be used to fish in typical lunches?
Let's see. That's hard to answer. You know, we're the harvesters. We're not really the dealing directly with the consumers. One thing we do, though, in this fishing contest, at the end of each one, we have a public fish fry that is very popular. It's primarily for the people that participate in the contest, but it's popular enough that we get a lot of others that want to come out and consume the fish. Now, those are deep fried typically. We also have a stew, but it all goes over very well. And there are a lot of small kids at those events. That's about the extent of my experience. And that way.
I might can help with that too. You know, as a food service director, and those of you who are, we get fish from USDA, fish sticks. I've also bought fish through Cisco and US Foods. The problem with that fish, and there's a lot of problem with the fish that I get from Cisco and US Foods, and I hate to kind of say anything bad about it, but I don't know where that fish comes from. They can tell me, it says it on the box, but I'd much rather get fish from Polson and Flathead Lake than out of a box where I don't know where it comes from. And especially if the prices are comparable. And think of the lesson that we have to teach our kids when it comes to this local fish. Our kids here at the school, I serve fish pretty often and they eat it. No problem with them eating it. It's usually breaded. It's always breaded. Stick it in the oven. It's done in a few minutes. The positive side to this trout is it's local trout. You cannot get any better fish than that. So, and Montana kids know trout. So I don't think we're going to have any problems as food service directors serving trout to our kids. And I hope that helped you with your question on Wesley with the younger kids and fish.
And it sounds like Chura also does Fish Fridays. Did you want to share what kinds of things you're serving? Are you doing fish sticks or fish tacos?
We do fish sticks. Kids don't like it because they're used to the fresh fish. I do a lot of tilapia. I do fish soup, fish stew, whatever you want to call it. And we do a fish and winter vegetable bake. If you bake your tilapia with garlic and butter and pepper and squeeze lemon juice over the top of it, throw your lemon rinds right in there with it, let it bake, pull the lemons off and serve it. The kids love it.
I think most people would love that. Sounds absolutely delightful.
They like it.
It does sound really good.
I just see a couple comments in the chat box and I'll read those. So a great ecological piece to incorporate with lake trout too. And that's echoed with Katie's comment. I feel like also connecting the sustainability and benefit to the environment is a great way to incorporate a lesson into the classroom.
So we've got a couple more videos to go through still. Next one I want to introduce is Shane Flowers with Project Meats. He's out of Shepherd, Montana. So if we want to roll that tape.
Hi, I'm Shane Flowers with Project Meats. We are a local meat processor doing business with places like Huntley Project Schools. We have a lot to offer as far as that goes for what the new beef to school initiative is going on right now. In our particular situation, we're a federally inspected facility as far as the fresh meat goes, and soon to be federally inspected as far as cooked meats goes. You can find a lot of establishments like us all over the state. Here in the central to eastern side of the state, we have a lot of opportunity. We have a facility in Miles City where we do the fresh production, and we do all the cooked production right here in Billings, Montana. Using some guys like us gives you kind of some flexibility in your school program and how you want to do things, just because we're small and we can maneuver fairly easily as far as that goes to fit your needs and what might be best for your school and your situation. So as we go along, I kind of want to try to explain a few of the different things that we've done that might be beneficial to different schools across our area, as well as you might find them in other processors that are more in your area. So as we go forward, just see what we have to do and check it out. We also provide a wide variety of value-added products for facilities that might be looking for a pre-cooked sausage that's easy to get out there to the kids or different things like that. We make breakfast patties that come into a 10-pound box. You just pull them out, get them cooked up for the kids, as well as bacon is a big deal for us. We sell a lot of bacon through here, and we sell it at a wholesale level. So it gives us a lot of opportunity to keep the price right, but it's a very, very high quality bacon that getting fairly well known in our area as well. currently trying to get, or will have, I should say, in the next couple months, a machine here that'll single pack snack sticks too. So if you have whether it's a concession stand or something that you sell out of your cafeteria or whatever that might be, that, especially with everything that's going on in the world, they're going to be single packed, nobody's touching them, anything like that. So you just sell it to the individual, they grab it out. There's no cross-contamination worries or anything like that. So there's a lot of opportunity for value-added production or value-added sales that go into the schools that could really benefit them and make their jobs easier in the long run, hopefully, because the more we can get done for you and the less work you have to do, the better off you're going to be. We also provide, obviously, a wide range of fresh meat products. Whether you're looking for roasts that you can cook up for your kids or just burger. I mean, burger's obviously a huge staple as far as giving these kids something that doesn't cost a lot of money, giving them high quality protein that doesn't cost a lot of money. So we provide that in a 5-pound package, boxed up, how many ever pounds you want. We box that up, and they're in 5-pound packages. Makes it really easy for you to pull them out, open them up, get them cooked up. And we really pride ourselves, I guess, on the local side. It doesn't matter where we're at in this process. We do everything we can to provide local. And the one thing I think is important with the ground beef side of things is you can find cheaper ground beef. I won't deny that. But the difference is sometimes what you're getting is what they're calling the finely textured lean ground beef. And it's just not the quality that you would hope for, especially feeding it to kids and to schools and stuff like that. Everything we do is just straight off the carcass and fresh meat. And it's usually done as fast as we go through things. It's usually done within, say, that week. All of our fresh meat, we're going through trim so fast that you're getting meat that was freshly taken that week. So it helps considerably. We also offer delivery services. So we have refrigerated vehicles in our area, whether we're in central Montana or eastern Montana. I've got delivery vehicles for all those kinds of scenarios. And that way we can get them to you under the regulations that's required of your school and make sure to get you taken care of as well as far as that goes. The one thing I didn't touch on real quick that I wanted to point out is we also do hamburger patties. So if you're a school that likes to do hamburger patties for your kids, we can make hamburger patties. They come in a 10-pound box. You can just pop them out and cook them up and get them ready for those kids.
All right, that was good information. Anybody have any questions for Shane?
We do have a question. It's more of a general question, but I think Shane could probably answer this one. If you have a 1,300-pound beef and it is processed all ground beef, how many meals kids can you serve from that? So it's a math question.
So a 1,300-pound beef, if we're going to grind that whole animal, really depends on the age of the animal, because the older they are, the less we actually get back out of them. But say a 1,300-pound animal, we're looking at 60% dress. That's going to put you somewhere in that 800-pound range. Once you bone that out completely, if it's not a lot of fat trim off of that or anything, you'll get another 60% out of that. So you're probably talking 480, somewhere with that 400 to 480 pound mark for a ground product.
Awesome. And then a response to Samantha's question was Anna's, which is we do 1/4 pound burgers. So if you're taking that into, 1/4 pound patties, you can calculate that out, or whatever you're doing with it. There was another question here. Are the snack sticks shelf stable?
So I have a couple different styles. I have one that is shelf stable snack sticks that we sell quite considerably through wholesale going into convenience stores, different things like that are just going to sit on the shelf. And then we also have a refrigerated snack sticks, which generally have cheese in them. And that's why they're not considered shelf stable, because the cheese would break down under a shelf stable conditions. So rather than going to an oil-based cheese, we just leave it the way it is and call it refrigerated. I would like to say real quick, I apologize. All these other guys had this awesome scenery to look at, water and grassy fields. I just had a manufacturing place. So
It was great, Shane. It shows what really happens behind the scenes. And something else I want to point out on Shane's video, it's not just beef he has there, he has pork too. So from the breakfast patties to the bacon to a lot of different things with the pork. I order the thin pork chops from Shane, and we do a meal where we cook the pork chops in our big tilt skillet and season them, and then we add cream of mushroom soup and some other things, and we serve that over mashed potatoes or rice. So it's like a smothered pork chop, and they're little 4-ounce pork chops, and they are absolutely out of this world. They're amazing. There's one more question, Aubrey, from Tura. Shane, do you process sheep?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we don't, it's not a high demand item. We don't see very many sheep compared to the cattle and hogs that we do in the state. It's just not a huge deal. But if there's somebody looking for sheep, we can definitely probably figure out a source for that and bring it in and process that.
I do want to bounce back to a question, since we have time right now, that was asked by Jake to Stacy and Tiffany. Were you able to find a local processor in Montana? I think that's when it was asked. It was way back at the beginning there, but I didn't want to miss that.
Yeah, so we primarily have been using Cowboy Meat Company out of Forsyth, and it formerly had been C&K Meats, but they just do such a great job as far as customer service, quality of what they produce for us, and so yeah, that mostly we use Cowboy Meat Company in Forsyth. We have used a place in Jordan and also in Big Timber, and have got some bookings in Terry, Montana. So everything that we do is local to Montana. Some of the processing facilities, like Shane had alluded to, are USDA inspected. Forsyth is only state inspected currently, and so sometimes that'll depend on who we go to as far as where the demand for the meat is.
And a state inspected facility in the state of Montana is legitimate for going into any of these schools. So Cowboy Meats processes for Ogren, they're more than capable of taking that product to those schools. So just for clarification for anybody that's not aware.
All right, so we can move on. So now you are all going to watch a video that we put together here at Huntley Project School in Warden, Montana. Hey, my name's Ginger Buchanan. I'm the Food Service Director for Huntley Project Schools in Warden, Montana. I'm also a farm to school coach for Montana Team Nutrition. Today we're going to be doing a kitchen tour, and I'm going to show you some of the equipment that we have that helps us do made from scratch or semi-made from scratch meals. That's very important to us here at Huntley Project because we want our kids to know where their food comes from. We try really hard to source everything we can locally. Right now we're able to do our beef, some lettuce, and we're also a part of DOD Fresh, which is really, really a good source for fresh fruits and vegetables through USDA. I also want to talk to you a little bit today about grants. We've been really blessed this year. We were able to win several grants that helped us to get a lot of much needed new equipment. And I'm really excited to show you that equipment. So we're in the prep area of the kitchen. Right here's our prep table. This is where we put everything on sheet pans. This is one of our ovens. It's our combi oven. It'll steam, hold, it'll roast. We can do just about anything in this oven. These two ovens, this is an electric convection oven and a gas convection oven. This is our baker's table. It's where we make all the homemade biscuits and hot rolls, cinnamon rolls. Our big mixer, which we're getting ready to add to this mixer, one of the grants that we won, we were able to include a brand new mixer, so it will also go beside this mixer. Dish room area, this is where pre-COVID kids would come in through the door, put their trays on this table. They would get rinsed, run through the machine, and then our drying racks. This is the back of the kitchen. This is where most of our made-from-scratch meals get prepared. This is our large tilt skillet, our small tilt skillet. Right here is a space that we've reserved for a 2-burner cooktop that is not here, hadn't been installed yet. Our large steam kettle where we make all of our soups. We have another warming cabinet that we are using right now for COVID, so all the meals that come out of the Oliver go into this warming cabinet. I believe it'll hold 9 Oliver trays per sheet pan, and I believe there's 11 spaces in this holding cabinet, but it's pushed down to the elementary. This was also won through a grant. More prep area, so we make our bags here for any of our sack lunches that go out. We have taping machines to tape those bags with. This is where we wash all of our fresh fruits and vegetables in this area. Our number 10 can electric can opener. So recently we had the opportunity of getting a patty making machine that we love. By getting this patty making machine, we've cut out the middleman, which means we've cut our cost in half. We buy all our beef ground 80-20 from Project Meats. All this beef is raised here locally, right here in the Yellowstone Valley, so we're able to put money back into the producers' pockets, and our kids know where their beef comes from. So we're going to demonstrate here real quickly how we make these patties. We pre-season it so that when we pack it into this machine, it comes out seasoned, and they're 1/4 pound patties. They fit perfect on a bun, and the kids love them. Okay, so I've got my pan just about full. One other thing I want to talk about is when we make these patties, we put them into the cooler. The next morning they go into the ovens. They're done in 15 minutes. Very easy to make, very easy to process. We can have over 500 patties made in about an hour and 20 minutes if my head cook and I can stay at it, and we just knock it out. It's super easy, super simple. There's not a lot of work involved, and it's been a big success for us. So I'm going to show you our Oliver system that we got for Huntley Project School. This was all bought through a grant. This is a really cool machine. So today we're doing spaghetti. So the first process is we load the paper trays with the garlic toast. Then we put corn in the tray, and then we put the spaghetti in. It goes to this table where Janice picks up the trays and loads the machine. So we're going to show you the other end of this because we have kind of a cramped space. So the machine processes the food through the stamping where it stamps the film onto the tray to seal it, and it pushes them out this end where Missy picks the trays up, puts them on a sheet pan where we get 9 to a pan, and we'll wait till this pan fills. Then it goes into our portable warmer, but it'll go into this portable warmer, and that is what we push down to the elementary school and feed the elementary kids. This time we're going to demonstrate our Dough Express pizza press machine. It par bakes our crust. This was also won through a grant. So I get this dough from Costco. It costs us $20 a case. We get 21 to a case. All we have to do is thaw it overnight. Proof it the next day for a couple hours just till it gets to room temperature. Buying a case of that compared to a case of par-baked crust from Cisco, we save way more than half. So a case from Cisco is somewhere around $60. You only get 12. So like I said, through Costco, we get 21 for $20. So we take the dough, round it, put it in the center. This is hot, so we got to be careful with that. Pull it down. This needs to bake between 30 and 45 seconds. And so we'll be right back and I'll show you how that works. So it's been about 45 seconds, so I'm going to lift the handle, flatten it out really nice. So what we do now is I'm going to bring it to Heather. She's going to dock it with this docking tool. And what that does is it puts holes in the crust so that it doesn't bubble up in the center. You have to dock these. Now we'll just round the edges, and that'll help keep all the good stuff inside the pizza. Plus it looks really nice after it bakes up. Then Heather will put it on a perforated sheet pan, and then she'll put it on our baker's rack to cool. Once those are cooled, we will put them in stacks of 10 with paper between each crust. Put them in the freezer, and they're par-baked, ready to use crust for the day we want to make pizza. This is our dry storage area. We have a lot of our pans and amber pans back here, a lot of roasting pans. We store our number 10 cans here. So anything food is pretty much going to be in this area. We have another dry number 10 can storage rack in this corner. We also store all of our prepping cups for our portion cups for any fruits that we do, or slaws or salads. All that stays back here. So we also have freezer space. It's not a very big freezer. We also won grant money to buy another external freezer, but up until this point, this is the freezer we use. It's about 10 by 16. We've got another 10 by 16 on its way. Right now we're having to use bottled water because the nitrates in our city water are too high. So anything that we cook with, that we add to soups or any recipes, has to be done with bottled water. This is our walk-in cooler. It's a little bigger than our freezer, but this is where all of our fresh food goes. It just has to be stored in a cooler. We have 2 serving lines. We have kids that will line up on this side. They'll come through, grab their trays from the server, and walk down the pathway to the point of sale. We also have a serving line on the other side. Well, they'll do the same thing, and they'll walk out to what we call our commons area. Our tables are put away right now, but when it's not pre-COVID, we're able to seat about 400 kids at a time. Right now, we're about half that. Okay, y'all got to see me for a little bit in action. I'm sure that was a lot of fun to watch. Anyway, anybody got any questions for me? I answered a few in the chat box.
Could we maybe read those out so that folks that aren't paying attention to the chat box? So I'll just ask them. So Anna asked, Ginger, how many kids do you feed a day?
Yeah, we feed just under 600 kids a day.
Kathy is in love with the patty machine. Where did you get yours, and how much do they cost?
Well, we were blessed with that machine. It's on loan right now from Livingston. They didn't like it a whole lot, but we love it. So we're actually going to buy it from Livingston. They just hadn't given us a price yet, but you can get exactly that patty machine through Bar Greens for around $6,000.
There's another question. Kathy also wants that pizza dough roller. Where did you get that, and what's the cost?
You mean the pizza press, Kathy? Okay, so that pizza press also came from Bar Greens. I have learned that, speaking on this, if you can when it comes to a business that sells equipment, I've learned in my experience, if you can kind of stay with one person, they don't want to lose your business, so they're going to fight to keep it. So you can really work on price. So, so with my salesperson with Bar Greens, I can find a cheaper price. He don't want to lose my business, so he's going to match that price or get as close to it as he can. That pizza dough press cost about $2,700. And we really, really like it. And the dough is phenomenal. We haven't made our own dough yet just because of time's sake. And we've been shorthanded in this kitchen ever since we came back to school. So I haven't had time to tackle that one.
Another question is, what grants did you use to buy this equipment? So if you want to list the different grants that you have received.
Yeah, let me think. We won a grant through the state. We've won some grants through No Kid Hungry, and I believe we have, I'm looking to see if she's on here. I think the lady that helps me with all my grants, I believe she's on here. I'm not sure. I thought I saw her name.
Linda is on. If that's
Is Linda here? Okay.
Hey.
So, okay. Linda has been amazing, and she's been wonderful to work with. These grants really are easy to fill out. You don't have to do all this dialogue. It is really simple. So those of you that want to tackle a grant, now's the time to do it. Do it now. If there's things you need, find these grants, do them now, especially with COVID going on. I know your needs because I know what mine were and I know what mine are. So now's a good time to jump on there and get things that are going to make things easier for COVID especially.
And I will add that I'm not sure if there's any funding left in that state grant you got, Ginger, and we might have another grant opportunity coming up early next year. So yeah, Ginger can give you my contact info, or if you put in the chat if you're interested in getting grant info, I can write your contact info and then keep you in mind when we do have another cycle opening.
Awesome, and thanks for joining, Linda. So Katie has a question. Is one Oliver machine enough to feed your number of kids at your school?
Yes, it is. There are several different levels of the Oliver. Ours is about the mid-level. There is a small one that fits on the countertop, but I really don't recommend that Oliver machine unless you have a small school where you're feeding, 100 or less kids. This Oliver machine that we have, it'll make you feel like you're on that Lucille Ball show where they're doing the chocolate and you just can't keep up. Yeah, we can't go as fast as it goes. You could probably run 500 mils through that thing if you put it on the number 10 setting, if you're that fast and superhuman, in an hour. I mean, it's amazing. So we can't keep up with it. We have to turn it down to like 4 and it'll go to 10. So we could feed an army with that Oliver machine we have right now. And just the machine, that's not including trays, but just the machine's about 16,000. But if it hadn't have been for that grant, we would not have that Oliver system here or anything that goes with it.
You might have mentioned this already, Ginger, but didn't you have wasn't there also a smaller Oliver machine?
There is a smaller one. And like I said, I think it would handle, now I've not messed with one of those. I don't have one, but just from the videos I've seen, I think it could probably handle definitely 100 kids or so, 100 meals. But, if you're getting into the numbers where we're at or higher, you definitely need a bigger machine.
And then Ginger, do you own does Huntley Projects own, or are you renting the Oliver system?
We own that machine. We own it. And that the grants paid for the machine, paid for all our trays. It paid for every attachment that we need. So every Oliver, you have to have a tray carrier to fit the type of trays you want to use. So we have a 3-compartment tray. So you would put the main course and a roll. They're divided into 3 compartments. You'd have a 2-compartment. You have a 1-compartment, and a fruit cup. Those are the 4 that we purchased because we like to do a variety of different meals. We haven't even used 2 of the tray carriers yet. We've only used the 2-compartment and the 3-compartment, but it has been a lifesaver. And I'll tell you, up until we got the Oliver, we were like everybody else and throwing food in a bag, prepackaged everything. And our numbers went down. You know, we got complaints, kids, they just got tired of it. And so thanks to the grants, we were able to get this Oliver machine, and we are back to you know, moving and shaking like we were pre-COVID and making all our meals from scratch. And they're eating good home cooked meals now because of that grant, because of the Oliver.
Here's a question. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask this because it would take too long to type it.
Yeah.
It might be a Linda question as well, but concerning grants, I'm down in Gardner, and I work at a school that has dwindling population and so dwindling money. It's in quite a big crunch, but yet our free and reduced numbers are too low for the majority of all grants. So we've been able to get a little bit of money from an education foundation that we have started in school a couple years ago. But if anybody has any sort of information or advice on other grants that aren't based on your free and reduced, that would help us because that's where we run into a ridiculous amount of problems with getting any funding from anything.
I'll say with this new set of grants, because usually ours were focused on school meals, but our national partners, since the school closures, has expanded those grant opportunities, and it isn't specifically based on numbers of free and reduced participants. So when we do have another cycle that comes up, I can reach out to you. The process usually is that we reach out individually to schools to find out what their situation is. They apply, the national assigns us those applications, and then we talk amongst ourselves as a team, and then we have to advocate to national on the need. They're pretty open to listening to what we advocate for, just because we're able to have that open dialogue with people like Ginger and make a case. So I'll definitely keep you in the loop, and I'll also think about other grant opportunities that I come across, and I can send them to you, Anna. And I also want to let you know, I did look in the chat box. I've been writing down emails of people that said they want grant information in the future.
Okay, so I think now we're going to jump to Pam Frew. She is from OPI School Nutrition. Pam's our food distribution manager and oversees DoD Fresh.
Hi, thanks you guys. First of all, thanks for doing this. What a great way to spend an afternoon. So much great information. How does USDA Foods fit into this picture? The reason is that schools, when they participate in the National School Lunch Program, receive USDA Foods as as a benefit for participating in our program. So that's where we come in. In general, USDA Foods are about 20% of the ingredients that a school would use to create their menus. So USDA Foods in schools has a dual mission, a dual purpose at the time it was founded, to support domestic agriculture and then also to provide healthy meals for schools. So it really fits in exactly with what we are talking about here. But to bring it down to the scale that we're talking about, I just wanted to give you one example of how we were able to take this national program and localize it into our state. And that was through one piece of the USDA Foods puzzle, which is the USDA DoD Fresh program. So DoD Fresh, what is that? It stands for Department of Defense. And seems like a kind of strange combination there, but basically the Department of Defense spends a lot of money on fresh produce, and by teaming up with school nutrition programs, it's a way to leverage their buying power, basically. So schools participate in National School Lunch Program. They receive entitlement assistance dollars, and then they decide individually as a school how to spend it. So our DoD Fresh local example, on the next slide, we'll see a picture there of, this is something that this is just happening right now. So we have our vendor for our DoD Fresh program is Grasmick Produce, and they're based in Boise, Idaho. They're a family-owned company, and they provide, as part of the contract with the Department of Defense, the fresh produce to any Montana school that chooses to participate in the program. So our vendor, Grasmick Produce, was able to connect with Swanson's orchards in Corvallis, Montana, and there's a little dot there you can see on the map where Corvallis is. Now, sidebar, we have a gigantic challenge here to distribute anything in our state, as anybody knows, who the folks here who are talking about, how are you going to move your product from your family farm in Absaroka to, Corvallis. I mean, it's a challenge. Only 3 states have a bigger physical challenge than we do. So that's where Corvallis is. And then in the next picture, this was just texted to me yesterday, there's our pickup of our apples at Swanson's orchard. So those are picked up yesterday. They will go back to the Grasmick Produce facility, and they'll ship it out this weekend to their cross-dock facilities. And then next week, schools can start ordering those apples on November 2nd, and we will start to see those apples in schools on the week of November 9th until they're gone. So this is the second time we've had a local purchase transaction, and I can tell you that it gets easier as you go. So for anybody who is just starting into this, whether you're a school or whether you're a vendor, don't get discouraged, because and it can be hard not to, because you're really doing something that hasn't really been done before. I mean, everybody knows how to pick up the phone or go to the internet and order from your broadliner. You can do that. That's pretty straightforward, but this is harder. So it takes everybody working together and being patient. And I think on the next, I wanted to show you, like, what does it take? So one challenge for us when you're trying to supply to schools is, what scale are you going to operate at? How far are you going to go? In our case, our vendor is contractually required to supply product to any school in Montana that orders. So again, you can imagine, if you're in Hysham and you're thinking about, well, can I go to Columbia Falls? These are really challenges. And then you have to have enough volume of product. So for apples, there's not a lot of apple suppliers in Montana to start with. And then there's really not a lot that can ship out 700 cases of apples on a Monday. So takes a lot to get that done. And then just finally, to sum it up, I made a little list on the next slide of, what some challenges are, but also where you get your success. So finding a supplier that can provide the quantities you need, and then figuring out, how are you going to arrange for product pickup? Can they get the apples picked? Will the beef be ready? Are the fish farther down than where they normally would be? Whatever these kind of things are, you kind of have to have a plan B if plan A doesn't work out. Price structure can be a challenge, because if you are, just depending on how you're selling, you have to have those one-on-one conversations with each other about what makes sense. School accounts, school food service accounts are all nonprofit by it's required. So the way all that works too gets kind of complicated. And I talked about this before, the size of our state. I mean, we have a lot of challenges to just to be able to supply things anyway, but that's someplace else where we can all kind of work together and figure out maybe how we can help each other. And that's been, I think, the most interesting part of this, and what an afternoon like today really encourages, is people working together, sharing ideas, and it's really all for the best. It's all good stuff to come from this. So thank you so much. I'm happy to talk your ear off about USDA foods, but I just had a little slice of time. So let me know if you have any questions. You can reach me through my OPI contact information. Thanks.
Thank you, Pam.
So I'm going to wrap up with sharing a few resources and upcoming opportunities to get more involved. And one of those opportunities, as Pam said, is if you're school food service directors and you're using DoD Fresh, you can get Montana apples through DoD Fresh. And that's a huge win. And I just thank Pam for hanging in there and making it happen for the second time. So that's awesome. So I'm going to move through these slides really quickly. And really what I want you to get is that there's just a ton of resources out there and where to start looking for them. You also get the PDF of these slides, so you'll be able to see those links and those resources. So don't feel stressed out about how fast I'm going to go through here. So start with the Montana Farm to School website. One of the pages you'll find on there is Beef to School. And since today's tours were largely Beef to School, I encourage you to check out our Montana Beef to School page, which has FAQs, our case study report, procurement templates, a pitch and promotion kit, and many other resources. The Montana Farm to Cafeteria Guide is a great place to get the regulations, to understand what needs to happen from the farm to the school, as well as best practices for serving local foods in schools or other institutions. If you're looking for local food, you can use local food directories like NCAT's Farm to Cafeteria Producer Database or Abundant Montana's directory. Also talking with colleagues, farmers market managers, other schools, restaurants, etc. And for producers, making sure that you're on these directories so that people can find you. One program that can be really helpful in promoting and integrating that education piece is the Montana Harvest of the Month program. This brings together the farm to school core elements in an easy to use framework. The goal of Harvest of the Month is to support healthy Montana children and adults and support Montana's farmers, ranchers, processors, and food businesses. It is open to K through 12 schools, after school programs, early care and education, health care, grocery stores, and even food pantries. It's free to register and you can do so at any time, whenever you want to start. Participating sites do get access to posters, handouts, guides, and many other resources. If you can see my video, you can see that I have one of the posters behind me, so you can check out what that looks like. One of the resources that we developed are the farm to plate videos. So a video for each of the foods. Unlike the other Harvest of the Month resources that you need to register for, these are publicly available on our YouTube playlist. No registration required. So you can use those in classrooms, on your Facebook pages, to promote local foods to families and communities. They're really there to help you however is needed. Food Corps is another great resource, and we have a lot of Food Corps members on today, so that's exciting. Bringing in additional staff to help with farm to school implementation can be really helpful. Food Corps service members are hosted by schools to implement farm to school, and they're provided training and resources through the Food Corps program. You can also consider a VISTA, intern, paid staff, volunteers, or partnerships with nonprofits and other organizations. There are many opportunities to learn about Farm to School in Montana. This is certainly not the last. We are offering 2 more showcases in the spring, information to be determined, so stay tuned. And then information about all our upcoming events, including our past events, which are all recorded and archived, are found on our training and events page, which is the link is shown here. This includes our webinars that we've had about food safety, if that's your interest, and our past Farm to School Successes webinar series. Due to COVID, we did postpone the Montana Farm to School Summit until August 2021. And so we hope you'll join us then. And just as of this week, we have reopened the workshop proposals. They will be due December 31st. So if you have a farm to school story, experience, resources to share, we hope that you submit a workshop proposal. And of course, we're wrapping up National Farm to School Month this October, and it's a great time to celebrate or launch your farm to school program. And of course, we also just passed Montana Crunch Time, which is one way you can celebrate local food initiatives as well as National Farm to School Month on October 22nd, when we all crunched into locally or regionally grown apples. And if you did participate in Crunch Time, I hope you registered, because if you register, you help Montana win the Mountain Plains Regional Crunch Off. You have to register by October 31st, so please do that. Help us win the Crunch Off trophy. I'm also really excited to announce that Montana Team Nutrition, through Office of Public Instruction, was awarded a USDA Team Nutrition grant, and our project will be starting soon. One of the elements of that will be collecting Harvest of the Month recipes from schools throughout the state. So if you have some good Harvest of the Month recipes, we will be looking for those. So start watching our announcements, because we want to hear from those. And we're also looking for schools that are willing to test the recipes with their students and their school nutrition staff. So contact us if you're interested. The next round of USDA Farm to School grants are now open until January 8th. So when they are due, there are multiple tracks, and each track has different eligibility requirements. So they're even open, some of the tracks are open to even producers, as well as schools, state agencies, all kinds of different entities and organizations. So get more information at the USDA Farm to School website, and contact the USDA Farm to School grant staff if you have questions. Watch the webinars, read the RFA, do all that good stuff. Those grants could really be of good help. Anna, I think you would be a good candidate to apply for these grants. So definitely check those out. And if you're looking for grant opportunities that are farm to school related, do check out our Facebook page. We try to post as many as we find on our Facebook page. So that's a really good spot to check. So I encourage you all to remember to share your story. We can't have events like this if we don't know what's happening in your area. So use social media, use your news media, and share those stories about what's going on in your area. If you do post to social media, use our hashtags MT Harvest of the Month or MT Farm to School, depending on what you're posting. And always email one of us if you have a story to share. And just lastly, again, we encourage you to reach out to us. Ginger and Faith are Montana Farm to School coaches, and their entire job is to be here to help you all make goals for farm to school, work through your challenges, build your farm to school program, or grow it. So if you would like to work with a farm to school coach, please contact them directly, so that we have Ginger and Faith again. So I think that's it, and I will turn it back to you, Ginger, for questions, and I can take a moment and look through the chat box.
Okay, does anybody have any questions over anything you've seen today? Or specifically Pam?
Here's a question from Jake. It says, will USDA help with the distribution of local products? So I think that would be a good Pam question.
Let's see, I was looking at that. You know, the USDA probably won't, but OPI school nutrition programs, the way we're set up is that we contract our distribution separately. So the USDA procures the products from vendors. Those arrive at our warehouse, and then we have a trucking firm that goes to the schools. So I think it'd be worth talking about, because I really can't say yes or no, but it can't hurt to explore it. We were weighing out trucks today, and you know, you've got room for another, 1,000 pounds or whatever on a truck. It'd be nice to have have someone to talk to about that. So we should talk. We should definitely talk, Jake. I'll send you my number here.
There was a question about sourcing bison from Tura, and Samantha posted that there's a bison ranch in Lolo. That would be an excellent thing to look on those local foods directories, such as Abundant Montana might have some, as well as the Farm to Cafeteria. networks database and map. If
Shane?
anyone, I think there's also one, there's North Bridger Bison, something like that, and that's near Wilsall.
And I don't know if Shane might have an answer to that or not with Project Meats.
So there's several places that are processing buffalo. We're not currently. I know Stillwater Pack brings them through, as well as Brian Engel over Pioneer Meats in Big Timber. There's also elk processed up in Kalispell at Lower Valley Processing. And I'm thinking they might do buffalo there as well, but I know there's elk for sure. So there are quite a few different opportunities there for some different proteins from some of these other processors in different areas. Those are the three that jump out at me. If I think of something else, I'll pass it along, but I know those three for sure have some opportunity there.
In closing, we just want to thank all of the presenters and participants. I think we had an amazing lineup today. I'm really proud of all the videos and all the time and effort that everybody put into this. And a big thanks to Sarah for all her amazing talent in video editing. So thank you, Sarah. And I hope this showcase was informative and helped inspire you and answer some of your questions. Please know that we're here to help you. We want to encourage you to reach out to us. There's me, Faith Oakland, and Aubrey Roth. Our contact information will be provided to you in an email. And again, thank you to all the presenters. You put your heart and soul into making these wonderful videos, and we appreciate you.